This is Damian Lillard, and you're listening to The Briefcase with Casey Holdahl.
Greetings, Blazer fans, and welcome to The Briefcase, presented by Spirit Mountain Casino. Episode 186 of The Briefcase, presented by Spirit Mountain Casino. I'm Casey Holdahl, and your Portland Trail Blazers getting one of their best wins, if not their best win of the season, Wednesday night versus the Rockets at Moda Center. They'll run it back Friday night. We'll also look at their upcoming schedule. Trailblazers with a chance to get to 500 before the end of the month of January, which would really do a whole lot for the team in general, but it would also do a lot for Deni Avdija's chances of making the All-Star game. Deni still 7th in All-Star voting. You guys are doing a great job voting for Deni Avdija. He's moved up in votes, has not moved up in slots. We'll discuss where he stands in that voting with 1 week to go on this edition of The Briefcase, presented by Spirit Mountain Casino. After finishing 2025 with a loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Portland Trail Blazers are still undefeated in 2026. Deni Avdija posted a season high in scoring. Toumani Camara got a tooth knocked out, and what would have been a game-tying tip-in was waved off as the Trail Blazers came away with a 103-102 victory versus the Houston Rockets in front of a crowd of 16,144 fans Wednesday night at Moda Center. The Trail Blazers are now 18-20 overall, 9-9 at home, back to 500 at home. That is a big deal, and have won a season-best 4 straight games and 6 of their last 7 games. Trailblazers building some momentum here as they're rounding into form at the start of the new year. Even though the Trailblazers never trailed in the second half, the Rockets put as much of a scare into the home team and their fans as they possibly could have without coming away with the victory Wednesday night. Tari Eason out of Seattle forced a turnover on an inbounds with 5.3 seconds to play, and Houston, trailing 103-102, got the visitors a chance to tie the game or win it on a final possession. Kevin Durant, who had 10 points in the fourth quarter, missed a 19-footer with 2.1 seconds to play. Tari Eason makes another play, tips the ball in as time expires, but while the attempt counted on the floor after review, the officials determined that Eason's hand was still on the ball as time expires, turning what would have been a devastating loss into one of Portland's best wins of the season. Eason having an absolute great finish to that game. Trailblazers lucky to get out of that one with a win. He forced that turnover on the inbounds with 5.2 seconds to play. Sure looked like he fouled Caleb Love when he was going for the ball, and it was called a foul on the floor. On review, it was said it was marginal contact, which that marginal contact rule, I do not get it at all. Fortunately for the Trailblazers, it did not cost them the game, but it almost did. Blazers have been the beneficiaries of some pretty good luck in late game officiating as well. So in that regard, you kind of assume that things even out. But if that had not gone Portland's way, you probably look back on that play and feel pretty salty about it. But that was not the case. You can look back on that fondly because the Trailblazers were able to get that victory. Deni Avdija posted a season-high 41 points on 13 of 24 shooting from the field, 13 of 15 shooting from the line, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal in 39 minutes. One of Deni's best games of the season. Didn't create as much in this game. I think he maybe recognized that he maybe needed to score a bit more in this game. Blazers still very shorthanded as they've been throughout the season, but also missing Chris Murray in this one as well. So I think Deni maybe thought to himself like, hey, I might need to look for mine a little bit more tonight. Did a great job of getting into the paint. Great job of getting into the foul line. Tari Eason complaining about the referees and saying that's the reason why it's so hard to defend Deni Avdija. You got to love that if you're a Trailblazer fan because you know they're in their head at that point in time. Deni also just had an answer every single time. I mean, Kevin Durant, anytime you're playing KD, you feel like late in the game, he's going to make the play that's going to decide the game. But Deni seemed like he had an answer every single time that the Rockets pushed in that fourth quarter. The fact that the Blazers never trailed in the second half, I think is amazing. You know, that's one of those games where you kind of assume that the Rockets are going to make a comeback and then the Blazers are going to have to dig out a little bit. Not much, but you figure that at some point in time, a team with as much talent and as much experience as the Rockets is going to get there. They were not able to get there on Wednesday night versus the Trailblazers. Deni Avdija being one of the main reasons why. Another huge reason why was the plaintiff Toumani Camara, as I mentioned, gets his tooth knocked out in the second half by Dorian Finney-Smith. Doesn't even leaves the game momentarily, has the rag to his mouth. He's bleeding, not profusely, but he's bleeding pretty considerably. And he gets back out there, continues to play, continues to make plays, doesn't let it affect him, ends up fouling out in that game with 14 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks in 39 minutes. Toumani Camara, as tough a customer as they come. You know, we were joking after the game, like, if I ever got hit in the mouth like that and lost a tooth, like, you would not see me for weeks. I would be curled up in a ball complaining about it. Toumani doesn't even take the play off, wants to get right back out there. This is Toumani Camara, who I will remind you, who had a rib broken and his kidney lacerated his rookie season and continued to play in that game as well. Toumani Camara showing over and over and over again how much he cares, how tough he is, how much winning drives him, and how important it is for him to be available. Toumani Camara, another guy really rounding into form at this point in time in the season, had a little bit of a rough start to the season. Really feels like he started to figure some things out, really starting to settle in. I've really liked what we've seen out of Toumani, and that game versus the Rockets, just a great indication of what you get with Toumani. I mean, he was able to hound Kevin Durant throughout the course of that game. You're never going to stop Kevin Durant, but you can slow him down a little bit, and I thought Toumani did a great job of that. He even talked after the game how, KD is such a great player, and he's able to mask his game so well that it really makes it tough to defend him. He can score from anywhere. He can do anything on the court. Toumani mentioning that he learned a little bit from Kevin Durant during his time with the Phoenix Suns before he was traded to Portland, so that may be a little helpful there as well for Toumani, but a fantastic game for Toumani Camara. So tough, so willing to sacrifice his body, so willing to sacrifice for his teammates as well. I think, Toumani Camara, just an arch competitor, a guy you love having in your locker room. And that game versus the Rockets on Wednesday night was a great indication of everything you get out of a player like Toumani Camara when he's playing at his best. He's playing very good basketball right now. Shaedon Sharpe goes 7 of 17 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3 for 20 points, 3 assists, and a steal in 34 minutes. Donovan Clingan, 12 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block. Caleb Love rounded out Portland's double-digit scores with 10 points to go with 6 rebounds, 4 assists in 28 minutes. Not a great shooting game for Caleb Love, but I thought a really nice floor game. Those 6 rebounds and 4 assists were huge for the Trailblazers. That game was the first time, I think, in 5 or 6 games that Deni hasn't led the Trailblazers in assists, so someone else needed to step up to do that. I thought Caleb Love did a really good job in that one. Also, low-key, really nice performance from Yang Hansen in that game. Ended up playing 17 minutes, 3 rebounds, 3 points, 2 assists. I thought they shorted him on a steal as well. He had a drive from the three-point line to the rim. Didn't end up getting the dunk, but just the fact that he put the ball on the floor and got to the rim, I think showed a lot of confidence out of Hansen, really kind of growing in his game and just getting more comfortable out there. I thought he ran a break one time. He had some turnovers. He was looking to create for guys and just traveled. Wasn't great, but I really feel like more and more you're starting to see Hansen get comfortable out there. And, if not necessarily like doing a whole lot to maybe help the team win, he's not doing anything that's going to make the team lose right now. And I think that's a really good step for Hansen. I think, those 17 minutes is probably the most important stat there. I thought he looked good in his 17 minutes. He ended that game with another positive plus minus. Matter of fact, 3 of the 4 starters finished that game in the minus and plus minus. I believe Deni was even, and Toumani, I think, with plus 10. The rest of the pluses all came from the bench in that game as well, which just goes to show, again, the Blazers, even though they're playing incredibly shorthanded right now, really getting great production on a night-to-night basis from guys further down the roster. I feel like Thiago has really kind of settled into a nice rotation. He knows what he can expect out of these guys on a night-to-night basis, and I think that they're really coming with their best right now, and it's giving the Trailblazers a chance to build some momentum, to win 4 straight, to win 6 of 7, and to, once again, maybe get back to 500 here sometime soon, maybe before the end of January, if they're able to continue to play this way. The schedule coming back to Portland a little bit, and, that's something we talked about, and it was a difficult schedule for Portland to start the season, and they're playing better basketball right now, but they're also just getting a little bit of a break on the schedule. They've got days off in between every game this week, which is really helpful, particularly for a team that's having to play guys like Deni, guys like Toumani, guys like Donovan Clingan, extended minutes. Those guys need rest. They don't have a whole lot of backups that can come in and kind of, give those guys a breather during games, particularly if those games are close. So the schedule's coming around for the Blazers. They're talent and their chemistry is really starting to meld. I think Thiago and the coaching staff has really kind of figured a few things out with this team. Still stuff to clean up, obviously. They got to do a better job with turnovers still. They still got to do a better job with free throws. They missed some late game free throws in that game versus the Rockets, which you really hate to see. But the fact of the matter is, they're playing pretty good basketball right now. They're improving. They're consistent. And it seems like more and more, if they're able to play this way when they start to get some players back, which hopefully will not be too far from now, then you really start to consider, maybe moving up in the standings and maybe getting out of that play-in race even. So it's great the way the Blazers are playing right now. It's awesome to see. It's been fun to watch. And you'll be able to see it again on Friday night versus the Rockets. Well, after starting the new year on the road, it's great to be home for a stretch of games. But if you do find yourself needing to get out of town, you can experience unmatched level of coziness and comfort by experiencing the newly remodeled hotel lobby at Spirit Mount Casino. Their rooms have all the essentials from high-speed Wi-Fi to 24-hour front desk service. Choose the room that best suits you and book your stay now at Spirit Mount Casino, Highway 18 in Grand Ronde. Spirit Mount Casino, elevate your game. So the Blazers host the Rockets again on Friday night, and I'm really interested to see how each team kind of makes changes and adjusts to what the other team did in order to try to win that one Friday night. I expect a very hard-fought battle. It was a tough physical game to begin with. That Rockets team, they play tough, they play physical, they're hard-nosed. I'm expecting that it's going to be more of that on Friday night. So definitely a game you're going to want to check out. Then after that game on Friday, Blazers host the Knicks Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. start time, and another Sunday family fun day for the Trailblazers before heading off to San Francisco to face the Warriors Tuesday in a nationally televised game on NBC and Peacock, which is still listed as an 8 p.m. tip. And I was under the impression that they had moved all those to 7:30 tips. But as of right now on the schedule, it still says 8 o'clock. So I'm showing up ready to cover a game at 8 o'clock. I would love it if it started at 7:30, but as of right now, I'm not entirely sure if that's the case. So we'll probably get a little bit of clarity on that. But I'm guessing if that's what the schedule says, it's 8 o'clock now. It's going to be an 8 o'clock game a week from now. Then it's back home to face the Atlanta Hawks, who will have CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert after the trade with the Wizards to send CJ and Kispert from the Wizards to the Hawks in exchange for Trae Young. Interesting little trade there, and that's on January 15th. Also, shout out to Jaleel White, who was in town for the game versus the Rockets on Wednesday. You all remember the Jaleel White and CJ McCollum, bear passing resemblance to each other, particularly when Jaleel is the Stephon Urkel alternate personality, I guess it would be. Either way, good to have Urkel in the building. Good to have CJ McCollum back in the building as well. Lakers on the 17th before heading off to Sacramento for the second night of a back-to-back versus the Kings on the 18th. So as I mentioned, a real chance to maybe get back to 500 before they go out on that 3-game road trip to end January. Blazers are currently 9th in the West, 2 games behind the Warriors in 8th, 4.5 games behind the Suns in 7th, and 6 games behind the Rockets in 6th. And 6 is the cutoff line for the play-in tournament. We're almost to the halfway point of the season. So maybe just a little bit too early to be looking at the standings and kind of seeing where Portland's place is in it. But the Blazers have moved up the standings a little bit over the last week and a half. They were in 10th. Now they're in 9th. Making the play-in, I think, would be great for this team. But if by some chance they're able to play well enough to get out of the play-in and make the playoffs in 6th, that would be a incredible accomplishment for this team. They've got the talent if they're healthy to do that. They just haven't been healthy for the majority of the season. So again, if they're able to get some guys back, maybe this team can go on a run. They're already kind of on a bit of a run right now, but if they're able to get guys like Drew Holiday, guys like Jeremy Grant, if Scoot is able to get out there at some point in time this season and give this team something, I think that really goes a long way towards, again, potentially making the play-in and then maybe even doing something a little beyond that. So really great to see the way these guys are playing right now. They're really fun to watch. I think they're playing a fun brand of basketball. They've had to make adjustments on the fly due to injuries, but they've done a really good job with that. Again, I think you really have to give a whole lot of credit to Tiago Splitter and that entire Trailblazer staff. They have this team ready to go on a night-to-night basis, and it's a fun watch right now, I think, for the Trailblazers, and I think the fans have really appreciated it as well. Again, great crowds at Moda Center. It's always fantastic to see, and hopefully able to continue this stretch where they're playing the majority of their games at home and again build some momentum going into the month of February where they'll have the All-Star break and they have some tough games coming up. Obviously they have a tough road trip at the end of January with stops in Philadelphia, Boston, and New York. But if the Blazers are able to get back to or above 500 by that point in time, then I think you really start to consider, maybe this team doing a bit more than a lot of us thought they would do. And even those of us who thought they were going to be better than naturally people assumed they would, if they're able to get to 500 and continue to build some momentum and then maybe get some players back healthy, at that point in time, who's to say what this team can do? Well, as I've mentioned over and over again, both on this podcast and on my other podcast, it's impossible to say where this Trailblazers team would be this season without the play of Deni Avdija. He has been an absolute revelation this year. We saw it at the end of last season, but he has really taken it to another level this season, playing at an absolute all-star, all-NBA level, really coming into his own as one of the best forwards in the Western Conference. seems to be growing every single game. Really like what we're seeing from him on the court and from a leadership perspective as well. I think that Deni has really taken that next step in his career, and he's being rewarded for it as of right now, winning his first Western Conference Player of the Week on Monday, and might have a chance to repeat it next week after posting 33 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds in Monday's win versus the Jazz. And as I already mentioned, 41 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal in Wednesday's win versus the Rockets. The other thing about those kind of awards too, you don't win Player of the Week, Player of the Month, unless your team is winning. And right now the Trailblazers are winning. Deni is a big reason for that, but it has been a team effort. They're getting production up and down the roster. Deni has been the head of that, but everyone else on the team also playing great basketball right now. So anytime that a guy gets an individual award like that, it really is a team award, because the Blazers had gone 0-4 last week instead of 1-3-1. Deni doesn't win Player of the Week. So it's great to see his play and also the play of the team more broadly really start to improve as we're getting into the halfway point of the season. He saw quite a bit of box and one in that first game versus the Rockets, and I imagine with as well he played, as much as he got to the line, they're going to throw the entire kitchen sink at Deni Avdija in that rematch on Friday. Between Tari Eason and Amin Thompson, two very good elite defenders, they are going to throw everything they have at Deni Avdija. I'm guessing, if I'm Ime Udoka going into that game on Friday, my game plan is basically, hey, we are going to do everything we possibly can to get the ball out of Deni's hands and make somebody else beat us. They weren't able to do that on Wednesday night. We'll see if with a day of practice, if they're able to do something differently, but I expect that to be an even more physical game. I think, again, they're going to do every single thing they possibly can in order to get Deni out of his comfort zone. Tari Eason talking about, the zebras being the reason why it's tough to defend Deni Avdija, taking a shot at the officials and the way that Deni Avdija is officiated as of late. But I mean, I think you go back and look at the tape, like find a foul where it's like, yeah, that's not a foul. Like, he creates contact. He gets downhill. He's fast, and he makes the officials make calls because he's putting pressure on the opposing defense. I mean, like, drawing fouls is a skill. Some guys are better at it than others. Some guys are really good at it. I think Deni's doing a pretty good job of drawing fouls, but again, he's getting fouled quite a bit. And I mean, when you play the way that Deni plays, when you have the size, when you're handling the ball as much as he does, when you're driving as much as Deni does, you are going to get to the line. And as of right now, Deni's done a great job of doing that for the Trailblazers this season. One of the reasons why they've been able to have the level of success they have had this season. And all of that is great for Deni's All-Star candidacy. He's averaging 26.3 points on 47% shooting from the field, 36% shooting from three, 80% shooting from the line, to go with 7.2 rebounds, 7 assists, and nearly a steal in 35.3 minutes per game. He has also played in every single game this season, maybe the most important stat for the Trailblazers. He's still 7th in the most recent All-Star voting returns with 1,224,109 votes. That's 22,317 votes behind Anthony Edwards in 6th, and 97,876 votes behind Victor Wembanyama in 8th. And that is the cutoff to be a starter. Is obviously there's 5 starters. So I think if you're in the top 5, they're not doing it by position this year. So I think if you finish top 5 in votes, you are a starter, though I don't even know what that means this year when you have 3 teams and one of the teams is international. If you look at the vote tally for the Western Conference, I think the top 8 players, or at least top 7 players, I think 5 of those players are international players. So I don't know how that's going to shake out necessarily. But if Deni Avdija finishes 5th in the vote, I believe that means that he is automatically an all-star and will start on the international team. But it's just not fan vote. That's the other piece of that as well. Fan vote makes up 50% of the vote, but you also have to remember that the players get 25% of the vote, and a media panel also makes up the other 25% of the vote. So as of right now, with 1 week to go, Deni Avdija with a chance of getting into that top 5 spot, but he's going to need a lot more votes. I think he's done a really good job, or the fans have done a really good job voting for Deni Avdija. I think yesterday on Wednesday was a double vote day. You can vote on trailblazers.com, NBA.com, the NBA app. Voting concludes on January 14th at midnight Eastern time. NBC and Peacock will reveal the starters on January 19th. Reserves that are picked by the head coaches will be announced the next week. I still think it's probably the most likely that Deni ends up as a reserve from the coaches' vote, but he's still got an outside chance of getting in with fan coach or with fan, player, and media vote. So keep on vote for Deni Avdija. He absolutely deserves it. Also, real quick too, Donovan Clingan didn't get invited to the Rising Stars Challenge last year, which seemed like a considerable oversight. But he absolutely has been one of the best second-year players this year, really one of the best centers in the NBA this year. So he's got to be at the Rising Stars Challenge as well, or the rookie-sophomore game, but I don't even know what they're doing for that this year. I don't know if they're doing the G League team again, which is, I think, what they did last year. And if they have a G League team, does that mean that Caleb Love, who is a two-way guy, could potentially get into that game as well? Because he's been one of the best two-way players this year. Does he qualify as a G League guy or an NBA guy in that? Long story short, I don't think anyone knows what necessarily the plan is in its entirety for the 2026 NBA All-Star Weekend, but keep voting for Deni Avdija for the NBA All-Star Game. Donovan Clingan should absolutely be in whatever they're calling the Rising Stars Rookie-Sophomore Challenge these days, and Caleb Love, if he's eligible, should probably be there as well. And that's going to do it for this edition of The Briefcase. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, we'll be back next week. More editions, plenty of home games at Moda Center. Check out the Trailblazers. Tickets available. Games versus the Rockets on Friday and the Knicks on Sunday in another family fun day. 3 o'clock start time for that one. Our old friend Josh Hart coming back to Moda Center as well. Always good to see him. And then one game on the road, then coming back for 2 more at home before heading out for a quick one-gamer versus Sacramento Kings. Until then, please like, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Casey Holdahl. Go Blazers.